Win small to win big. What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Grind.
BTG.
If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. And please don't forget to hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any of our future content. Our podcast is for those who want to go beyond the grind. My name is Kay.
I'm Alan.
And I'm Tosin. And we love celebrating the big wins.
Hey, you got to celebrate everything.
That new job, that big deal. You just closed a $10 million raise, all of those big wins. But I think the beauty of the grind is actually in the small wins, in the daily wins. It gives me an example. I was watching a soccer game this past weekend, and as a team that was losing, it was like 2-0, and then they scored one goal. And you should see these guys celebrate. And I was like, wait, did they tie or something? Are they winning? I'm like, I got lost. But in my mind, in the back of my mind, I'm like, wait, hold on. Maybe they're celebrating so that it can help change the momentum of the game.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Hey, I just scored. So there's the hope. There's the potential.
Yes.
There's the possibility that we're going to score a second one, and at least tie or maybe even score a third one and win the game.
Yeah.
Right. So with that mentality, what do you guys think?
But did they win?
Don't worry about that.
They should have went home.
Game ended 2-1.
It was a nice effort. You guys tried.
Hey, but it did remind me, that's why I wanted to talk about it. It's like, you know what? Yes, maybe we're not going to win, but we're celebrating that small moment of hope, of potential.
Yeah.
Right.
So
and we got it every single time. It's not just because we're behind. Oh, we scored. Okay. Let's go back.
But so you're saying we shouldn't swing for the fence, right?
No,
only at the end of the game.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that there is beauty in celebrating the small wins.
Okay. I'm only saying that because the NBA changed the rules with the half court. It doesn't count against your stats. So everybody's just chunking up or at the end of the game or whatever. Like, what is the last 30 seconds or
Unless
60 seconds?
If you make it, it helps.
It helps, but it doesn't count against your stats. So everybody's just loving it. So anyway, I digress.
But to add to that, I kind of agree with you because I am a firm believer that most people fail not because they set the bar too high, but because they stop after they missed the first time. I remember when I first started going to the gym, right? I saw folks lifting 225 pounds, people that look exactly like me, but obviously I've never been to the gym before. So I'm thinking like they're getting it up and I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that too.
Let's go.
So
Alan is like, I knew you could. I knew you could.
No, the way they were lifting the weights, I'm like, oh yeah, I should
You're Nigerian, man. Use a Nigerian strength.
And then so I'm thinking like, oh, I'm a black Nigerian man. Like,
they don't have two heads.
I got this. So I got under the bench press, and then somebody was like, hey, you want me to bench you? I was like, yeah, sure. Thank God I said sure, else I might not be here right now. And then I lifted it up. As soon as it went down, that bad boy would not come back up. It literally felt like I was about to die. And somebody said, hey, you need to build up. Let's start from literally the bottom. So he's like, let's put 45 on both sides, which is 135 pounds.
Yeah.
Went down, could not come back up. So he's like, you know what? Let's go down. Put the 25 and the 25, which was 95 pounds. I got the 95 pound up, but it took everything in me to be able to get it up.
It was the first time,
Exactly. So you know what I did? I was like, you know what? I want to lift that 225. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here every day and I'm going to try and see if I can get one rep up more than I did previously. So I remember the first day, I was able to lift 135. I got somebody to spot me. And the guy said, you're still a baby. Like, there's still some muscles that you need to unlock in your body to be able to get this up. When I got that bad boy up, everybody in the gym looked at me like, bruh, it's only 135. But I looked at myself like, now I'm messing with the big boys.
Who you talking to? Who you talking to?
You can't tell me nothing.
When I was
Like, you
when I was
should've.
lifting the 95 pounds, I would go into the corner so nobody would see me. So now
John
I
Cena.
feel like I could be right there with
In
the
the
big
mirror.
people. Mind you, it's not 2 plates on the both sides. It's just 1 plate. But the fact that I can do it, right? And the key thing is that was important, at least for my psyche,
He's
because
one of the screamers in the
I
gym.
worked so hard to get to that 135.
I'm sure.
You know?
Hey,
And
but
then-
it's your first time.
and I
so
kept
yeah.
building slowly. And it took about 2.5 years, but I finally got to the 225.
Hey.
Right? And I've kind of dropped now because I'm not as consistent. I don't lift heavy no more because, you know, I'm once you get too close to that 40, you know.
Really? No, that's not next year.
I do light weights, more reps now because that's just what I prefer. But it goes to show you that basically that little momentum, and then me looking in the mirror, that now I can like move my chest without having to touch it. I was like, oh, I like that. And then I started seeing cuts. That was like a motivation for me.
Yeah.
Now, you might look at me and say, bruh, what's the big deal? But you don't know what I've been through.
That's
and
right,
you don't know what it took me.
That's
and
right.
also, if I was not so excited, maybe I might not have the motivation to get to that next step.
Right.
So celebrating small wins psychologically is quite important.
Yeah, no, that was a great story,
Yeah.
honestly. Now people out there like, I'm going to the gym.
He can do it. I can do it. He did 225. I'll do 250.
Right? Nah, that's good. I feel like that's a really good example of literally the topic. You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Or whatever the saying goes.
Yeah.
But I have we all have countless of stories where we did something like that. I think one of the big moments was when I first became a dentist. And to me, there's this thing like prepping crowns. Like you take an hour to prep a crown in dental school. They give you 3 hours, but I'm like, all right, 30 minutes, I can do it. Because when you're doing it in simulation and all that mannequins, I could do crowns like 5-10 minutes, but in the real patient's mouth, when you get out there, which we've been doing in dental school, but when you get out, it's different. There's tongue fighting you the whole time, water everywhere, they're gagging. It's just so much. Like, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm just trying to get this done. Like, can you just hold your breath for 2 seconds or something? Like, and you're, obviously you're not telling them that, but you're like, you take 2 seconds and you're like, oh my God. So I remember seeing someone, he does like 3 to 5 minute crowns. And I was like, huh? How? Impossible. And I was like, in a real human. And I went and looked. I literally went out to the office, which was like an hour and a half away. He had like a whole seminar, and I was like, after the seminar, I talked to him. I was like, was that real? Were you fluffing? And he was like, yeah, I do it. So I drove to his office. I'm like, huh? He's doing the same thing, just fast. He's just decisive. And so after that, I was like, man, my first goal is to get a 12-minute crown, 15-minute, 12-minute crown. So I hit 12 minutes. I was like, okay. And everybody was like, my friends were like, dang, you prepping in 12 minutes? I was like, yeah, but it's nothing. And then I tried again. I kept prepping. And I would be like, that's not good enough. I just feel like I was like a failure, to the point where I had the assistant timing me because I just wanted to get faster. For us, it's a speed thing, right? If you're prepping, like I have friends who prep like 15, 20-minute crowns. If you're doing 20 of them, times that by 20, 20 times 20 units.
And you're hunched over, by the way.
Well, no patient is going to be able to
That's
get it.
why you need to see a chiropractor.
Right. No patient is going to be able to sit there that long, right?
Yeah.
So, and finally got it down to where I'm like, yeah, I'm 3 to 5 minutes max. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. Maybe if I take a break or give them, it's still like 3 to 5 minutes. And so I finally I remember the feeling being like, my friends was like, what'd you do today? I was like, man, it was kind of a slow morning. They're like, what do you mean? I was like, yeah, we didn't do that much. I just prepped like I think like 22 crowns and then I chilled the rest of the day. They're like, the rest of the day? He was like, how long did that take you? I was like, I think like hour and a half. They're like they were stunned. Like, how would you do? I was like, bro, I prep crowns like 3 to 5 minutes. But how long does it take you? And then a couple of them came by like, how do you do that? And you know, now that I know it's a long-winded story, but now that I'm out there, it's great because any office that I worked at after that, they started yelling at one of the assistants, and the doctor was like, why is he much more productive than you? And they're like, you need to stop prepping crowns an hour and a half. They're like, well, how long does he prep it? The longest crown of time to prep is 7 minutes. He preps everything in 3 minutes. Patients in and out in like 20 minutes max. He's in there 6 minutes or so, gets out.
Efficient.
And they were like, I was like, you could tell him to come through, I could show him. But, you know, people have pride. So, but it goes to show you the little, I was just like so focused on like getting that done. Whenever I did it, I really wanted to flex. Yeah. So I was like, yeah. He was like, oh, what'd you do today, bro? I'm like, nothing, man. I was like, it was kind of slow all the rest of the day. He's like, what'd you do? I was like, I did some crowns. He's like, oh, what'd you do? When were you done by? I was like, well, we started like, I got there late. So I started like 9. And like, we were pretty much done by 10:30. He was like, what'd you do? I was like, 22 crowns. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, I didn't have nothing to do all day because they booked the whole day for upper and lower. Like, what am I supposed to do? He was like, so what'd you do? I was like, I went to Starbucks. Then I went to Smoothie King. I read some books. I went to the gym. Like, you know, so I feel you on like feeling like you did something that you could not do, but it definitely didn't happen like that.
But you know, the interesting thing, and I want to get your perspective on this, Tosin. Why is it, I mean, if we all know and understand there's power in celebrating small wins, why do you think that majority of folks don't exercise that gratitude mindset?
I think it's because we're always focused on that big goal, like you said in the beginning.
Or do we want instant gratification?
It's instant gratification would be those small wins, right? But I think people
They want big wins instantly. They're not willing. They're not.
But that is true, though.
No, but it's what it is.
You're right.
Like you said, you're focused on the end goal, right?
You know what?
But you don't care about the small. You want that now.
You just reminded me of one of my interns, right? So he finished his master's in finance.
The guy
he finished his master's in finance. But he's now doing an accounting internship. Oh. And one of the things that we wanted to teach him was tax returns. And what he was doing was learning how to do data entry for a tax return only. But I kept telling him, you've got to read what you're doing. You've got to read the entire tax returns, because to us that are at least a little bit experienced, the tax return reads like a book.
Yes.
Right. You know,
they tell a story.
Yeah. If you know like where this is in the tax return, it tells you this story. Yeah. If you know where this is in a tax return, it tells you another story. But that's because you know where things are located within the tax return.
Yeah. He's probably looking at it like from a data clerk perspective.
He's just looking at it like, it's a tax return. I'm going to put the data in. I'm going to spit it out and go. And I'm like, no, you're going to miss a lot. Yep. But he's also a musician. He plays the piano.
Okay.
So I now use the example for him. I'm like, hey, I'm also a wannabe piano
aspiring, not wannabe, an aspiring
piano player.
Yeah, use positive adjectives.
And I went into his realm and told him that, hey, you know what? One of my hardest things is to practice the little things in piano. So I just skip it. I just want to play. But no, I'm not practicing like the little thing. And then he started smiling. He's like, yeah, you've got to run your notes. You've got to do your finger exercise. You've got to do this. Yeah. I'm like, same thing. Yeah. Inside that big win of getting the tax return done, getting the what do you call it? The client finished, wrapped up, billed, all that good stuff. No, there's some small wins in there because it's not really about just getting the work done. There's some value inside those small wins that may have helped you even do a better job when you're actually producing the output.
Yeah.
But can I ask this? Would you agree that sometimes you get lost and forget what the final result looks like and what it is you're working through sometimes as you're getting these small wins, it feels good, but you want the big win because you get lost in just little steps sometimes.
No, I don't think so, because I'm off the mentality that tiny progress that stacked daily becomes unstoppable growth. And I'll give you an example. As a project manager, if let's say we want to launch something, I actually give you a real life example. I was working on a project to convert the phone system from DTMF. So that's the touch dial tone. It's a natural language when you call in the phone system and you can actually interact with the phone system, right? And it was a 1 year project. So I had a list of all the things that we need to do to accomplish the project, right? Now, from your perspective, you might be looking at it like, well, we're not at number 15 yet, which is maybe launch, right? We're still at number 2. But if I'm speaking to you and yesterday we were at number 2 and now we're at number 3, now we have less steps to achieve before we get to, you know what I'm saying?
Right,
it's a mindset thing because you know that you're making progress and you know that nothing is going to stop you.
Let me rephrase that. I think we're saying the same thing, but I'm asking a different question for other people. Is that as you're accomplishing these tasks, sometimes it can feel like it's just stretching out, right? You hit that like 135 or whatever, then you stagnate and you're 155 and you're like, dang, I'm never going to get here. Like you had initially thought it would take a year and now you're like, the goal is now 2.5 years and you're like, do I reassess? Is this worth it? How do you stay focused? And remember the end goal. Oh, that's what I'm asking, actually.
So it's, and I'm glad that you brought up my example. So for me, even though my end goal was 225, when I was lifting up 95 pounds, my goal was 135, not 225.
Right.
So it made it easier for me to be able to focus on that. It's like they said, the hardest money to make is your first million.
Yeah.
Right. So if you want to be, make 10 million.
Oh, it's easy to make a million.
You're
the first 10.
No, if that's the case, I must be missing something. But, if you have the big goal, you got to drop it down into small bits and pieces, so that you feel like you're making progress. Right. Does that make sense? No. So to answer your question, you can't think about the overall goal. Right. You have to make sub goals that you can feel like you've accomplished so that it's just like life, I
guess what I'm trying to say is I get that. But it seems like sometimes when you're working towards something, it feels like it's just moving further away from you, even though you're accomplishing more.
Because you're thinking about the end goal.
Yeah,
you can't think about the end goal.
Timeline and you split it up into sub goals and it just feels like the timing.
What do you think, Tosin?
The timing. That's what I'm asking for the audience.
I think you can't lose perspective of that end goal. All right. Because that was your original goal.
Right?
That's what's driving you. But if that thing keeps shifting away, and you may have to reassess it.
Okay.
Right? Because we're talking about celebrating the small wins.
Yes.
Right? That's like, hey, I woke up today and I went to the gym. Or I woke up, I did this today and I did that today. Or I accomplished this task in the middle of my getting to whatever goal it is. But if you feel like it's shifting or it keeps going further and further away or you'll never get there. I mean, we had another episode where we said sometimes we have to pause and reassess.
Yes. That's what I was kind of trying to
You can't just keep celebrating the small wins and never get to that goal.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to be going somewhere.
Yes.
Or know where you're going.
So what you guys are saying is when I set that 225 goal, right? And I think I put a time to it, right? Now, if I said, hey, I want to lift 500 pounds in the next 2 years, and I'm making progress.
You could do it. There's
illegal
substances. It's just what are you going to do? I mean, I don't know what you want.
I'm never going to get there because
I don't know what you want.
Unrealistic
Maybe
goal.
You want to do like a competitive building.
Yeah.
Right? Or competitive lifting. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. It's possible to get there, but there are some things you might want to do. And maybe as you get to that plateau, like Alan said, like, hey, you've kind of plateaued. I need to reassess, like, you know what?
This what I
My
want.
body may not be built for this kind of stuff that I want to do. Right.
So I will say one example I really have is of my friend who, if he's watching out there, I'm using you as an example. He's probably happy about this because, he's like a guru now in his head. But he started day trading, right? Mm-hmm. And, I have an MBA in finance and we talk about numbers and all that stuff and movement. And now he's been having crazy success. Like he's really feeling himself. He's like, hey, I think I'm going to start making a vlog and send it to you so I can compile it, edit it, and put it on YouTube because people really need my advice because, he's feeling himself. Yeah. And he was like, but real talk, it's not something you could do overnight. Like you might get lucky and these shortcuts may help you, but everyone has their own trading strategy, right? Mm-hmm. So what works for me might not work for you.
Yeah. And
he was saying that it took him about 3.5 years to be where he's at now. And I was like, dang, that's a lot. What, you can't read? Like, what happened? And he was like, nah, you don't understand. I was like, well, it's different for me because I have a finance background. So it's not starting from zero whenever I went into it.
Yeah.
And he was saying that like, man, I literally quit every like 2-3 months. Like I would like stop for like a week. Then I would go back to it. He was like, you can ask our other friend who's kind of his pseudo mentor. He's like, now he's trading. I'm like, are you on this trade? Are you on this trade? And I'm like, no, don't do that. And I was asking him, so what strategy do you use? And I was like naming like 2 or 3. He was like, all of them. I was like, how is this possible? He was like, after a while, and it takes time. That's why he said it took him 3.5 years to be very efficient. We're talking about he's made like 60 trades and lost 3 of them. It lasts 60 trades, which is crazy. And he was like, after a while, you're at the point where all of it, like, it's not one thing. They all just make sense.
Yeah.
And I was watching another mentor who was saying the same thing. He was like, I don't even look at anything. Everything just, it's almost like language now. It's not like, I'm not learning to sound out letters. I'm just like, you first learn how to pronounce words. You're like bear, but eat, or, now I'm not even reading the words. I'm just reading the whole paragraph.
Yeah.
Like it's speaking to me.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of what he made the analogy of, but he was like, you can't expect to be like, you see that person on YouTube or whatever, and they're killing it. They're day trading. You don't know what he went through.
Yeah.
He was like, I quit a lot of times, like 15 times.
Yeah.
But I kept at it and I got these small wins. I was like, I made $100 today. And I was like, that's it?
Yeah.
But that's kind of the example.
And look, the reality is, ultimately when the goal feels quite far away, I think recognizing those small wins gives you the mindset, or at least remind you that you're making progress.
Yes.
Because it's a mindset shift. It's psychological. You want to feel like you're making progress.
Yes.
Despite how far it might feel, So
I think the grind is hard.
Yeah.
So therefore you have to like these little moments, like Alan mentioned about his friend, like it's that easy to give up.
It is.
Right? Because it feels like every day you're waking up, you're pushing a boulder up a hill. Right? So if you don't at least celebrate, that, hey, I pushed this boulder 2 inches forward. All right. It's going to be very tough for you to keep going every single day, because sometimes only you understand how hard that grind is. You can't explain it to anybody else. They can't understand the things that you're going through daily.
Yeah.
So you have to recognize the little wins that you have.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just want to read a quick quote that he sent me for real.
Go ahead.
It really inspired me for this week. It said, what gets structured gets repeated. What gets repeated builds mastery. And I was like, dang, that's a gem. So that kind of
say it one more time for our grinders out there.
This is for you, man. This is for you. Thank you for this gem. What gets structured gets repeated. What gets repeated builds mastery. So if you want to be a master of something, you have to structure it and repeat it. Get those small wins.
And you know what the crazy thing is? Remember, I'm a big advocate for the EOS system, right?
Yeah.
Because of the framework of transparency and accountability, right? And, I've talked about this so many times, how there was a point in time where we said that we wanted to make $10,000 month to month revenue. And we had to ask ourselves, what are the 3 things that needs to happen? Right. And we broke it down. And then, with those three things, we had assigned folks who were going to execute those. And those folks are now asking themselves, okay, what are the three things that I need to do to accomplish this one thing? And it goes down, when we're having our stand up, even though we're far away from the 10,000 month to month revenue, there's a celebration for those small little wins because it's stacking up and it's stacking up. And ultimately, what does it do? It allow you to accomplish your goal. So putting that framework, like what your friend said, definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Makes,
you definitely gotta have the framework. You have to structure yourself, repeat it to become a master. Bruce Lee wasn't a master when he just woke up. It was in his mind. It takes that mentality though.
I want to ask Tosin a question, because we've talked about this from an individual perspective, right? Let's talk about it from a leadership perspective, right? You have a couple of people that work under you.
It's always like in my head. I was just about to say something about a team.
How is it that how do you motivate your team, especially when you've identified this big goal that we need to accomplish, for the quarter or for the year? How do you motivate your team to still feel like they're making progress, even when the goals still feel like it's far away?
You can't. So for us, at least for me, right, it might not work for anybody else. I don't remind them about the big goal. I remind them about the daily wins, right? Did you knock out that? Hey, did you close that client? I'm gonna celebrate you. Did awesome.
I like that.
Did you take a meeting? And you weren't shouting at the client. You weren't annoyed at the client. Whatever. The meeting went smoothly. Awesome.
Take the win.
You didn't even need me in the meeting. That's a win for you. That's an awesome win right there. Right. I'm always there to just celebrate the little stuff because they know where the bar or the goal that they're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
All I need to do is make sure that they're motivated through the process, because they will give up.
Yeah,
they will give up. Remember, it's not their business. Like they just wake up and say, "You know what, Tosin, I'm a little sick today."
You work from home, and they can let you do that.
So if they do that, hey, who's picking up that load? I'll be like, no.
Yeah, on a side note, so I did a day in the field with Tosin. Was it last week? I came in the office. It was like, hey, Tosin,
I know.
I'm just like, oh my goodness.
When do you get the offensive coordinator?
I'm like, I'm sitting in the office with him. This person is calling him. That person is calling him. I'm like, when does he have? So I can relate with him when he said, you took a meeting and you didn't need me? Great job.
Me. Not too many people understand that, but it's because these folks, we were having our stand-up meeting for managers this morning, and what I was telling them is that all of my managers, they don't have to do it like I will, because I might not do it perfectly.
Correct.
But they have this somewhat of a pressure to do it exactly like Tosin will, because the client might call. But I gave them an example, and y'all don't hold this against me. Don't even try it. All right. But I gave them an example of fees. I said, when a client will call me and ask for a discount, 99% of the time I'll give them a discount.
Yeah, but when they call,
I told them that's not right though. If you were to hold firm and say that, hey, this is the value I provided you, this is the time I spent, and you held firm, even if I was to give them a discount, it doesn't mean what I did was right. What you did was actually more right than I would have. Right? It's just I'm maybe too much of a softie, so you can do it just as good. And when you hold it, you did a wonderful small win right there.
I need a discount, my friend.
Right. Talk to your manager.
I need a discount, bro.
Talk to your manager,
right? You need a discount too?
Talk to Meg, all right?
The family friend discount.
We're the 10%. They always get to know.
No, but that's why it's really important as a leader, right? You can have those moments where you have all hands or whatever, where you're sharing that big vision, but I don't think you need to hold it over your team every single day, because it will burn them out. And no one is going to grind as much as a leader, usually.
For sure.
No employee is going to grind harder than you.
Yeah.
So if you expect them to put in 110% of what you are doing, you're going to find out real quick. All right. Unless you're paying Jeff Bezos. Right. So that's something to do with
Jeff Bezos paying for his
CEO.
Yeah.
Isn't it like 20 some million plus a bonus package?
Just a little something.
Just a little something.
Just yesterday's
and some stock options.
Yesterday's earning is the salary, right?
Close it out, Alan.
All right. So thank you for watching another episode. This episode is this show is for the dreamers that execute, the leaders that fail forward, and the employees on a mission. With that, all I have to say is grind hard, be bold, and go beyond the grind. Where can they find us, guys?
You can find us at gobeyondthegrind.com.
Until next time.
Peace.
Peace.